So from the beginning of our Judeo-Christian tradition, there have been animals. In fact, there were animals before there were people. If you follow the days of creation in the first creation story, and if you look at the second creation story, I don't know quite where they fit, but God's imagination blew on that earth and man appeared. But there have been animals, and if we think about from shamanism to pagan or Orthodox religions, from the Far East to the Native Americans, almost every single society and culture on the planet has a way of honoring animals. Okay, now you know what that is. That's the little windows coming down. People are like, I hear a sound. What is it? So we all have in some cellular memory or in our current experience an appreciation or an awareness of animals. Now, traditionally, we look at animals as messengers. We can look at them as messengers in our dreams, or if we see them in person. If a hawk flies by, we go, oh yes, that's my totem. Thank you for the hawk, reminding me to presence myself on the earth and use my vision. Or thank you for that hawk appearing in my dream, because what that means is something significant. Every animal has a special meaning. So whether it's in a dream or in person, we can go to a book, Animal Speak, or we can go to the internet and look up what that meaning is for us. Just like in Unity, when we look at a story metaphysically, we're looking at every single aspect of the story because we know that it means something to us. Some people believe that animals show up as our spirit guides. So we could have a spirit guide of a bear, and that bear will always be there to give us strength and help us make decisions, just like we believe angels are always present to help us guide along our spiritual path. I think animals are pretty great. We also learn a lot from animals. For instance, now this is kind of a joke, so just take it as it is. What animals have taught me? A cool outfit won't make you popular. You can swim every day and eat nothing but salad and still gain weight. And if you're a pig, you might want to trust no one. But really, and we do learn valuable, wonderful lessons from animals. The ant. The ant teaches us about unity. It teaches us about cooperation. It teaches us to live in partnership and harmony with our world. The ant lives in partnership with plants and other insects. So the ant gives them food, the plant or the other insect helps provide a home for the ant, and vice versa. They live in unity and cooperation. We can learn lessons from ostriches, because ostriches somehow know when it's the appropriate moment to not react, but to hunker down and pretend you're a rock. Because when you hunker down and pretend you're a rock, you're not going to do anything that you'll regret later. Or sometimes ostriches know when to be clear and direct. They know when to lift that leg up and kick it. Kick whatever is in front of them, whatever condition, whatever creature. They can fell a baby rhino with one kick. Ostriches are strong, clear, direct, and they know when to be like a rock. Eagles are another animal we can learn lessons from. Eagles, of course, have the vision like the hawk. They soar, they can see. It's important for us to draw on that eagle energy for ourselves, because that's how we know what dream to follow. That's how we know what the desire of our hearts is, to keep our eye on the prize. But another thing about eagles is usually at about age 30, they go off by themselves and they pull their feathers out. They scratch and they tear themselves and they pull feathers out, making sure that all of the old is left behind. And once they do that, then they can grow into their full maturity. I think that's fascinating. The 21st century is showing us time and time again where animals are now making unexpected allied relationships with other animals. Nancy sent me this picture this week. It's a chinchilla on the nose of a dog and all those birds, and they live as one happy family in a home in Brazil. You may have seen some of these others. Down on the bottom is a cat nursing hedgehogs. She's nursing hedgehogs. That's just a picture. 2 years ago, there was a YouTube that went around Facebook and a lot of other places about a barnyard cat who was adopted by a group of baby ducklings who had no mother. So you see the cat walking around and all the ducklings following behind. They nurse from her and everything. Apparently it's happening more and more. There's a pit bull with a Siamese cat and more baby chicks. And then there's a greyhound and an owl. So these are unusual alliances that we're finding more and more in our animal world. There's another YouTube that's gone around. It was a news story about a bear, a lion, and a tiger. It's called BLT if you ever want to Google it. But these three animals were owned by a drug dealer. The drug dealer got busted, and the official powers went in and found these animals who were wounded. They weren't cared for very well. They went to a sanctuary, and as they recovered, the people at the sanctuary found that they couldn't be separated, and that they were the happiest when they were together, the bear, the lion, and the tiger. Who knew? Who knew that this alliance would come together that way? Now, the name of the sanctuary was Noah's Ark Sanctuary. And that's how we're going to get to the topic of the day, Noah's Ark. Now, I grew up in Unity, as some of you know, and I didn't always learn my Bible stories in what I would call the regular way or the normal way. Some of them I learned as camp songs. So this one is rise and shine and give God your glory, glory. Rise and shine and give God your glory. Okay, you know that? And then there, yeah, okay. And then it's like, the Lord said to Noah, there's going to be a floody, floody. The Lord said to Noah, there's going to be a floody, floody. Get those children out of the muddy, muddy. Well, this is how I learned the story of Noah's Ark. That and another song that I learned in college. It was a drinking song. And I couldn't remember the first verse, so I had to go look it up because, you know, it was a drinking song. But when I went to look it up, this is what I found out. It was written by Shel Silverstein. A long time ago when the earth was green, while there was more kind of animals than you've ever seen, and they just run around free while the earth was being born, and the loveliest of them all was the unicorn. You know that? Okay, and then it goes, there were green alligators and long-necked geese, Humpty Hump mammals and some chimpanzees. There were cats and rats and elephants, but sure as I'm born, the only one that forgot was the unicorn. And then you do it faster and faster and faster. So really, that's how I know that the animals came on by twosies and twosies. But this story, the story of Noah's Ark, the allegory of Noah's Ark that is included in the first chapter in the Bible was one of Unity's co-founders, Charles Fillmore's favorite stories. And he loved it because it was the first recreation story in the Bible. The allegory of the flood is the first recreation story. Charles Fillmore considered the entire Bible as the story of generation, degeneration, and regeneration. So this is the formula or the pattern that we can use to regenerate. Because, as I said in our welcome, we are created good. We are created in the image and likeness of God. God is good and we are good. We're created from God's imagination, from that dust where He blew. That's how we're created. And then as a human being, we go off into the world and by ourselves, we somehow, sometimes misinterpret divine ideas. We go down a path, the path of degradation. We place more emphasis on the outer than the inner. We place more emphasis on the sense consciousness instead of that God consciousness. And we learn those wicked, worldly ways. But the good news is according to Charles Fillmore, according to this story, according to this lesson, is we have the ability at any time to regenerate, to recreate, to renew, to re-manifest the goodness that God intended from the get-go. God intended this goodness from the get-go. Now here's what Charles Fillmore said in a Sunday talk over 102 years ago. It's a metaphysical proposition. As I say, it is something that is going on continually in the development of man. Noah represents one who rests in spirit. He has an internal spiritual consciousness, and that develops a communion within him toward or with divine mind. It builds a new consciousness. So an ark becomes the saving grace in another phase of the development of man. So the ark becomes the saving grace. So that newer, higher consciousness becomes our ability to regenerate, recreate, and renew a whole new manifestation of our lives. When we get into the new spiritual consciousness, the world will be filled with beautiful colors of all kinds that we see and hear and feel and smell. Everything will be a continuous joy under a new law, a law of spirit, that the old condition, the old law, the old material conception just swept away. A great flood, a cleansing flood, is now being ushered in, and we should rejoice. So this is the allegory, the metaphor, the metaphysics, and actually when we look at the physical flood works for us too. When I grew up in Unity, there used to be this phrase which was, I'm not having a cold, I'm having a cleansing. Because the physical flood that comes through our sinuses or comes out of our eyes as tears is also a cleansing. Today's research shows that you would be grateful to get and happy to get 2 colds a year, because those colds actually flush out toxins that we have stored in our bodies. If we keep those toxins in our bodies, it begins to plant the seeds or conditions of diseases that can lead to things like cancer. So having a cold is good news. Having the flu is good news, although that's not the kind of flood I would wish on anybody. Judith Orloff is a medical doctor, and she talks about in a number of her articles the value of crying, letting those tears fall, because the salt that's contained in the tears actually also carry out the toxins. They provide that release from the grief or the anger, the frustration or the disappointment or the sadness that we're holding on to. It provides a place for the dam to break and the flood to come through. After a good cry, our heart rate is different. After a good cry, our body feels more relaxed. And getting back to Noah, that's the metaphysics of finding that place of rest within us. So all kinds of floods are good. One of the greatest teachers ever at Unity Institute was a man by the name of Ed Rabel, and he says the Noah's Ark story is a formula to neutralize and eventually eliminate the useless and harmful elements accumulated in our consciousness and subsequently our bodies. And he said, really, why don't we just go ahead and let them go when we notice them? Because certainly we look at our lives and we say, wow, oh no, there are some useless and harmful elements that we've accumulated. Why don't I just let them go? When we look at the health in our bodies, there's some useless and harmful elements that we've acquired. Why don't I just let them go? Well, somehow we require the flood. We require the flood to cleanse. We require the flood to purify. We require the flood to sweep away, just absolutely sweep away all that is not serving us anymore. And the really good news, like the coolest thing, is when that flood comes and purifies and sweeps away, we get to keep the good stuff. You know, sometimes I've been so heartbroken or so much in angst or so angry that I was afraid that once I started to let those emotions and energies flood through me, that I would just die. That they would completely overwhelm me and I would just die and I would cry and cry, or I would, I don't know, smash oranges or whatever I was doing to express my anger. I would just let that and there would be nothing of me left. But not when there's an ark. Not when there's that higher place that we've built in our consciousness. Because all the good things get to be stored in the ark. Noah, that place of higher consciousness, is in the ark. The children, his sons and their wives, are in the ark. Those masculine and feminine creative energies are in the ark. The animals that come on by Tuesdays are those base elements within us that allows our heart to keep pumping and the physical mobility of our organs to keep functioning. Those things are in our ark. They are safe. All the rest of the conditions can just flow away. They can go. We can say goodbye. We can sit on the bank of the river and say goodbye. I don't want to see you anymore. Ed Rabel says, you can always go there if you build it. If you haven't built it, it ain't there. You can't go there. You have to build a place in your mind where you can go and know that greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. Or greater am I than any condition that may be going on in parts of my existence, including my physical organism.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. And here's the affirmation. I am always greater than anything happening to me. I am always greater than anything happening to me. Tune into your inner TV evangelist. I want you to be on fire with this truth. I want you to know it in every fiber of your being, and then I want you to say it with me, with that fervor, with that certainty, with that knowing, I am always greater than anything happening to me. Ratchet it up. Ratchet it up. Together, I am always greater than anything happening to me. And you are. I know you are. And now I invite you to tune into your inner Buddhist, into that holy monk that you are. And imagine that the ark has been built. And in that holy state, in that knowing state, say it again, I am always greater than anything happening to me. Early writer Elizabeth Sand Turner said this, we should not be afraid when dread conditions appear. We can go into the ark that we have built with many declarations of truth, and there we shall be safe. I don't know exactly what conditions you're facing. But this is what I do know, that you're not alone. You are not alone. You have unexpected allies. You have lions and bears and tigers and ostriches and ants and eagles. Metaphysically, this is what I know. You are the lion, the bear, the tiger, the ant, the ostrich, the eagle. You are that unexpected ally. You already have an ark built in your consciousness. And I invite you to go there. Anytime, flood or no flood, because there you are safe. Let us sing When I Pray as we go into a time of meditation.